Hello, 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 hello. Hey, everybody, can you hear me? Yay, I'm interrupting your lunch. All right, so today, during lunch, we're going to talk about backdoors and breaches. Now, I know sometimes when I say that name, people snicker, but have you ever heard of backdoors and breaches? Raise your hand. Oh, good. If you haven't, they're for free over at the Black Hills booth. You can grab them anytime you want. They're a deck of cards. But how many of you, raise your hand, do you know that there's a free version online? Okay, so there was less hands. All right, so if you go to play.backdoorsandbreaches.com, you can actually play the entire game for free with your remote coworkers. If you've never played before, I'm going to give you a real quick demo. I'm going to bring out 3 volunteers, and we're going to go through about three different things, and then we'll move on. So I know you want lunch, but if you would like to talk about initial compromises, this is what we got. So my name is Jason Blanchard. I'm the Content Community Director at Black Hills Information Security. I'm the co-creator of Backdoors and Breaches. And so I've played this game about 150 times with people all over the world. It's incredibly effective for teaching cybersecurity and doing tabletop exercises. Really, really effective. All right, so in the deck of cards, if you got one, you have the red cards. And what we've learned is that if you've never seen how it is played, you just kind of don't want to play it. So I'm trying to show you how to play it here during lunch, so that way you can go back to your offices and play it. The very first cards we're going to talk about is the initial compromise cards. This is how the attackers initially get into your organization, and this one is credential stuffing. If you take a look at the top, there's a major headline. We got credential stuffing, and there's a brief explanation of what that is, and then what can detect it and the tools to do so. If any of you in here work with high school students, and I highly recommend you do because they're the next generation, but what happens is when you show them the cards, these are the actual tools that we use as pen testers to do these types of attacks. So when you look at the cards, it's going to give you a list of all the tools that we use, where to get them, and sometimes even how to use them. So the tools to do this type of attack are Burp Suite, Hydra, and users registering for services with their work email addresses. All right, so if I hit refresh up here, I get a brand new card. This one's social engineering. So what happened was we asked our pen testers, we said, hey, what are all the different ways that you try to hack into an organization? And they gave us a list of 300 things. Well, those 300 things, we don't have enough room for that in a deck of cards. So we have these major headlines. So social engineering is the type of attack. Then you get to create the scenario that you want to go along with social engineering. It's up to you how to do that. The things to detect this are endpoint security protection analysis, network threat hunting, and user awareness training. Tools to do this are a phone and a dream of evil. And if you trust us, there are 2 links on this one card where you can learn all you want about social engineering. So once the attackers are in through social engineering, then they have to pivot and escalate. That's the yellow cards, pivot and escalate. So that's how they escalate privileges and pivot from one system to another. So we have weaponizing Active Directory. So this gives you an explanation of what that attack is. It gives you detections of what would catch this and the tools to do so. Raise your hand if you've used Bloodhound. Fantastic. So you could potentially do this type of attack. So we have the initial compromise card, social engineering. Then they weaponized Active Directory. Well, how are they maintaining command and control and exfiltrating data? It was always DNS. Now we have more cards in there, but it's always DNS. And so DNS is being used as command and control. What can detect it is network threat hunting, firewall log review, and a tool to do so is DNSCat2. I think someone in this room wrote that. Want to raise your hand? No? All right. So now once the attackers have initially compromised, they have pivoted and escalated, they have some form of command and control, DNS. Well, how are they maintaining persistence? So in this scenario, it's a malicious browser plugin. What can detect that is endpoint security protection analysis, endpoint analysis, firewall log review, network threat hunting, and tools to do this is Grammarly. Grammarly is a tool that could do this, because Grammarly is just keeping track of every single thing you're doing, just logging every single key that you have. Now what happens in this game is I hit the refresh button and I have a brand new scenario. Now when I am playing with a team, what happens is I know the cards because I get to see them down here. So if you're using this version of the game, if I go down here to the solution, I get to see it. So I get to see that it is a credential stuffing attack, weaponizing actor, director, DNS to C2, and they used evil firmware. I get to see it, but the defenders don't. So the way this works is I come up with a scenario based on the 4 cards that come up. So if you're wondering, like, do I need a lot of prep work for this? The answer is no. I don't need a lot of prep work for this. All I really have to do is hit refresh, and then I go down here to solution. I find out that it's a trusted relationship that led to local privilege escalation, where HTTPS was being used as exfil, and they installed evil firmware. So that's it. I would come up with a scenario loosely based on those 4 cards. And then I would say to the security team, to the defenders, to the blue team, I would say to the incident responders, what would you do to try to solve this situation? So we're going to do that right now. Behind me, right behind this thing, are 3 people who are going to play right now. So would you like to come out? They're a little nervous about being on stage. Hey, we got Deb, we got Caitlin, and we got White Cyberduck. And I just realized I have no idea what your real name is.
No one does.
Okay, no one does. Fantastic. Let's move on. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a scenario, and then you're going to try to solve it using the procedure cards. Your procedure cards today are user and entity behavior analytics. Then you have endpoint analysis. You have network threat hunting. You have memory analysis. You have crisis management. You have firewall log review. You have server analysis. You have SIM log analysis. Wow, there's a lot of these. You have isolation, cyber deception, and endpoint security protection analysis. Those are the cards that you have. Now, before you put them in any order, don't do that yet because I messed up and I don't know what the scenario is yet. So I'm going to disconnect this cable, find a scenario, and then I'm going to give it to you because I messed up. So give me 1 second. I'm going to take this. Everyone goes back to their lunch.
He asked us 5 minutes before we knew.
Well, that was just a social media. My name's AU, by the way. AU. AU? Yeah, we're connected on LinkedIn. Yeah, you get a lot of this. I'm sorry. It's like, I'm white cyber.
What is during lunch? It's not like a talk.
It's okay.
Oh, the lights are really bright.
I can cheat and look at them from here. Hello.
Hola.
All right.
Hola.
Look, see, no one's paying attention.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah, no one's paying attention.
I'm on top of that, but I'm not
No, we have
recognize.
something really
All right, just waiting for it to come back on screen. Any second now. Okay, so here's your scenario based on the 4 cards that are right here. You have 10 turns to try to solve my 4 cards, but we're only going to do this 3 times because I want everyone to go back to their lunch. Okay, so you're ready?
Yes.
No, we're doing only just 3 things. 3 turns. 3 turns. We're not playing 3 games. All right. All right, are you ready for your scenario? Okay. Erica in accounting got a phone call 4 weeks ago from IT. IT asked her to install some things, to go to an external website, to install some things on her computer to make it run faster. Erica's very upset. She's now called the help desk. It's 4 weeks later. She's very upset because the things that she installed to make her computer run faster have not helped it run faster. In fact, it has helped it run much, much slower. So Erica is frustrated. She calls the help desk. The help desk looks and finds out that IT never called Erica. IT would never do that. That's not a policy of our organization. And so now the help desk is like, well, who called Erica to get her to install these things? And so now it's escalated up to the security team of Deb, Caitlin, and White Cyberduck to now try to figure out this scenario. You'll use the blue procedure cards to try to figure out what to do first. Then once you decide together as a group, you will then roll the dice to see if it works or not. 1 through 10 is unsuccessful. 11 through 20 is successful. 1 through 10, unsuccessful. 11 through 20 is successful. All right, so Erica gets a call from IT, but it's not really a call from IT, or maybe it was, I don't know. So what would you do first if this was your scenario? I am asking you three. What would you do first? All right, so what's going to happen now is they're going to discuss what they would do. It's going to come to a consensus. They're going to decide we should do this or we should do that. It's going to go one step at a time. They're going to roll the dice to see if it works or not. If it works, fantastic. We'll talk about that. If it doesn't work, well, that's not as great, and we'll talk about that.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay? So they want to look at endpoint security protection analysis. The very first thing that they want to do is that. And White Cyberduck brought it up full screen, so you can see that it's the endpoint security protection analysis. So I need one of you to decide to roll the dice. Who's it going to be?
You want to go? She hates the color orange.
All right, go ahead and hit roll. No, you cannot. No. There you go. What do we got? It's a 20. Hey, we got a 20. That's great and not great. That's great and not great. So the great part of it is this. Through endpoint security protection analysis, you did it. You took a look at the logs. You found out what it was. Now I got to look up and see what the scenario was because I didn't keep track of it. And so I'm just going to go over here and remember what it was. And just give me 1 second as I stall. All right. So through endpoint security protection analysis, you were able to determine that there is indication of the weaponizing of Active Directory. You don't know if it has anything to do with Erica's computer. You don't know if it has anything to do with that 10-minute or that phone call she got 4 weeks ago from IT. All you know is that you have discovered activity of weaponizing Active Directory, and you did that by rolling successfully for endpoint security protection analysis, which is a detection on the card. So that's how that works. But since you rolled a 20, in backdoors and breaches, anytime you roll a 1, a 20, or have 3 unsuccessful rolls in a row, you get an inject card. So let's go ahead and bring up the inject card right over here. It is chaos, and the card that you got was take 1 procedure card away. It is an established procedure. So I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to take away your memory analysis card. You do not get memory. Oh, I get to pick. I am the incident captain. I get to do anything I want. All right. So, step number 2, turn number 2. Turn number 2. What would you like to do now that you've discovered weaponizing Active Directory in your environment because of endpoint security protection analysis, and you got an inject where you lost the ability to do memory analysis in the future? What would you like to do next? What they're doing right now is they're discussing their policies, their procedures, and what they think it might actually be. They have decided. What have you decided? They're going to do server analysis. Now, as the incident captain, here's where the tabletop kicks in. I would ask them, why are you doing server analysis? What are you looking for specifically?
Answer? Do you want the real answer or the... God dang it, Jason.
Yes, I want the real answer. Okay, so they looked at the attack cards and they saw what it might possibly be, and so they just chose. So during a tabletop exercise, a lot of times I will ask the team I'm playing with, well, why did you choose that? What are you specifically looking for? Who on the team would actually do that kind of activity? And when they give me an answer of I don't know, then that's something they have to figure out in the future, like what you just did. All right, so we're going to take a look at server analysis. So we're going to take a look at server analysis. Go ahead and roll the dice. Who rolled it last time? All right, White Cyberduck, let's do this. Oh, it's an 8, but it's an established procedure. And you're like, what does that mean? All right, so in backdoors and breaches, we have these 2 different things. It's called established procedures up here. We got this row. And then we have other procedures here. So this one's considered an established procedure. Hey, raise your hand if you do things at work that you've never written down, and if you got hit by a bus, they would just cease to exist. All right, cool. So all of us. Yeah, we all do that. And so in this game, we take that into account. Sometimes you do things just because you know how to do it, and sometimes you do things because you write it down. If you have it written down, you get a +3 modifier for dice rolls, which could make your life easier during an incident. All right, so let's see if server analysis does anything. And the answer is no, it doesn't. You were successful in server analysis, but whatever the attackers are doing would not be detectable through server analysis. So let's do one more turn. All right, so you're still trying to figure out what is the initial compromise? Does this have anything to do with Erica getting a phone call from supposed IT? And then what is the command and control? How are the attackers maintaining persistence? What would you like to do next? They're discussing, they're trying to figure it out. They're going to do network threat hunting. They want to take a look at what C2 traffic is potentially happening. So they're going to take a look at network threat hunting. Now, this is not one of their established procedures, which means whatever you roll is what you get. So White Cyberduck, I think Deb is the only one that hasn't rolled. So Deb, go ahead and roll for us. Oh, 4? That's terrible. All right, so whenever you roll unsuccessfully in backdoors and breaches, what you do is you ask the team, can you give me a reason politically, financially, technologically, or personnel-wise why this would be ineffective at this time? So could you potentially give me a reason why this was ineffective at this time? Okay, so the people at your organization are unfamiliar with this tool. Now, what's nice is when you play in actual companies, when I get to play with real organizations, and also, by the way, if you ever want a demo of this at your organization, just reach out to Deb. Just all 500 of you, just reach out to Deb. Just send her an email. It's real easy, deb@blackhillsinfosec.com, and we'll do a demo for you for free. We'll show up, we'll do a demo, we'll teach you how to do this, because if you're not able to pay attention right now, we'll actually come and give you a free tabletop exercise. And when I say free tabletop exercise, I'm not going to give you a report. I'm just going to show you how to play. All right. So you said the team doesn't know how to use this. Now, when I play with actual organizations and I say, hey, can you give me a reason politically, financially, technologically, or personnel-wise why this wouldn't work? You all give me a list of stuff. You're like, oh, and this, and that, and we don't know that, and this, and that. So, all right, we're going to do one last one. So network threat hunting didn't work. That's a shame. That's a shame. What would you like to do last? This would be your last one, and then we'll wrap up and let everyone go back to their lunch. Looks like the team wants to do endpoint analysis. They want to take a look at Erica's computer and see if anything was installed on it, because she got a phone call. She installed something. She said she did. So let's see what that thing is. So go ahead and roll the dice. Who would like it to be? Caitlin was the only one that was successful, I think. No. Oh, they're going to roll at the same time. I think that's going to trigger something in a Mac, because if you hit the button twice. All right, it's a 10. Did you have it as an established procedure? No. So you would have to give me a reason politically, financially, technologically, or personnel-wise. Oh, no, I don't think so. All right. So that happens sometimes when you're playing. You have unsuccessful rolls, and you get a chance to really learn about your security. Now, you may at the end of that go like, but I don't think that would really happen in real life. Well, that's fine. It's not real life. It's a tabletop exercise, and it's an opportunity for you to go through and figure out what is your fail points. Now, when you get to the very end, either you have revealed them all, or you've gotten to turn number 10. So what it was social engineering that led to weaponizing Active Directory. They were using domain fronting as C2, and they installed logon scripts onto Erica's computer as a form of persistence. Now, the question that you always ask when the game is over, when you've revealed all 4 cards, is this: is this a plausible attack in my environment? So I'm going to ask you all right now, those of you listening, if you see this attack, social engineering, that leads to weaponizing the Active Directory, where the attackers are using domain fronting as C2, where they installed logon scripts, raise your hand if this is a possible attack in your environment. Cool, there's like 3. Fantastic. For the rest of you that didn't raise your hand, either you're eating or you don't think this one would affect you. That's good. At the end of all these sessions, you always want to have a yes, no, or maybe. If you have a yes, this is a problem, then either mitigate it or live with the risk. If you have a no, fantastic, take the victory lap, well done. If it's a maybe, that's a problem. If at the end of a session and you see an attack scenario and you go, maybe? Well, at that point, that's where you need to figure out if it is a yes or no or not. I'd like to thank you very much for listening during this presentation, this demo. I appreciate it. Yep. We have free Backdoors and Breaches cards for every single person in this room until we run out. You can take extras back to your coworkers. You can take extras back to your boss if you want to. If you want a demo in the future, you can always come and ask us at Black Hills. And when you're over there, I have free Bear vs. Bear cards to give away. These are trading cards if you want them. And then lastly, I have a couple copies of Prompt left. This is our zine that we produce. If you're already signed up, we're going to mail this to you in 2 to 3 weeks. If you're not signed up, you can still sign up at promptzine.com. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you so much for coming to Wild West Hackin' Fest. We got a chance to talk at you for years, and now we get a chance to talk with you. And it's so much better talking with you than talking at you. Thank you so much.